The Magical Ms. Plum. Chapter 11. The Weight of the World. When Becky O squinched up her eyes and put her hand on her hip, she could scold a wall if she wanted to. "Why do you have to stand there so still and flat?" she would complain. "Stop being so hard," she'd tell the floor. "You're always wet," she'd grumble to water. Becky could complain just about anything. Today she was mumbling and grumbling because she thought Ms. Plum was being really boring. They were learning about grammar, nouns and verbs and adjectives. Becky usually liked words, but the day was boiling hot and Becky's head felt heavy and dull. When Ms. Plum underlined the nouns in the sentence on the board, the chalk made a horrible squeak and broke in two. "Becky dear, could you please get me a new piece of chalk?" she asked. Becky scowled. She could even complain about being picked for the closet. She tromped up to the closet and slipped inside. It was much cooler in there, and she could smell erasers and lemon drops. She stood there for a long time until she heard Miss Plum calling, "Becky, please hurry up." Even Miss Plum seemed a little crabby today. Becky grabbed a stick of chalk, then heard a tiny hee-haw, and she looked down. There at her feet was a little donkey, about the size of a squirrel. His coat was as soft gray. His eyes were bright. Strapped to his sides were two big yellow baskets that looked perfect for carrying things. Becky tucked the chalk into one of the baskets and walked slowly from the closet. She didn't want Miss Plum to think she would hurry just because Miss Plum had told her to. The donkey carried the chalk to Miss Plum and stood there while she bent down and took the chalk from the basket. "Thank you, dear," said Miss Plum. Then the donkey trotted after Becky to her desk. Miss Plum began to drone on again. Becky saw Tashala sigh and lay her head on her arms. Becky scribbled out a note. "Miss Plum is so boring. Boring." She put it in one of the donkey's baskets, and he seemed to know right where to take it. He trotted over to Tashala and gave her a little nudge with his velvety nose. Tashala looked at Becky's note, then scribbled out one in return. "It's too hot for nouns." The donkey trotted back to Becky, frisking his long ears and glancing up at her as he delivered the note. Becky wrote out another note. "It's not fair. Miss Plum should give us extra recess." Mindy saw the note over Becky's shoulder and she quickly wrote her own note. "I hate grammar and spelling." She stuffed it into the donkey's basket along with Becky's note. Lucy saw what was going on and wrote her own note. "Miss Plum shouldn't use chalk. It squeaks and is dusty, which could be dangerous for your health." Everyone began to write their own mean notes because it was hot and Miss Plum was making them work too hard, and the sun was too bright, and the sky was too blue, and the room suddenly had a funny new smell. The little donkey clip-clopped patiently from desk to desk as everyone crammed notes into his basket. Miss Plum was too busy writing on the board to notice the donkey going from desk to desk. She was flushed and had a streak of chalk across her face. The donkey got slower and slower with each note. The note seemed awfully heavy for him. By the time he picked up Hobby's note, the little donkey's legs were trembling with the weight. When the donkey limped past Becky, she noticed that there was sweat crisscrossing his back where the straps for the basket lay. His tiny head was bent low. He was working hard, and he didn't look up at her with his once bright eyes. Becky swallowed. "Wait," she whispered. The little donkey stopped. Becky hesitated, then reached down. "I think I'll take out my note," she said. Mindy looked at Becky, then reached down and took out her note, too. Eric did it next, and then so did most of the other kids. By the time the donkey got to Miss Plum, he was frisking his ears and his eyes were shining, and there was only one note left in the basket. Miss Plum put down her chalk and lifted out the note. She read it out loud. "I am liking to learn nouns. Thank you, Miss Plum. Hobby." Miss Plum blinked. She pushed her sparkly glasses back up her sticky hot nose. Why, thank you, Hobby, she said. I like teaching you nouns. She smiled at the class. Still, it is awfully hot, don't you think? Becky raised her hand. Maybe we could go out on the lawn and sit under the tree. It would be nice and cool in the shade. What an excellent idea, said Miss Plum. Class, let's go do that. Cool idea, said Jeremy. Get it? Cool? Hooray for Becky O, said Amiko. Go, Becky O, said Jeremy. And Becky grinned shyly because suddenly everyone was cheering her name and she couldn't think of a thing wrong with that.